invest your money. Some of that will be strictly to increase the size of your wealth. Other parts of those investments might be something that you want to do that's key to your purpose and your character. And you can manage to do both.
This campaign to create awareness to generational wealth is brought to you by the Department of Neighborhood's Generational Wealth Initiative, the Washington Housing Finance Commission, and Rainier Avenue Radio World.
The beat of the Fox with nastiness is back on K-Fox Night Beat.
Yo, what's the deal? It's the legendary Hall of Fame DJ Mixmaster Ice UTFO.
What's up? Who you thought this is? This is Sir Mix-a-Lot.
And this is Terry Lewis.
And I'm Grand Mixer GMS.
What's up, y'all? This is DJ Third Degree.
This is JJ Hudson from the High Children family.
Sunday nights from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's K-Fox Night Beat with DJ Nastiness.
Bringing back the memories.
Bringing back the memories.
Bringing Seattle's hottest music.
Bringing Seattle's hottest music. Rainier Avenue Radio .world.
That's right. Keep going.
Peace.
You probably have questions about COVID vaccines. Here are some answers about how they're being made.
How are COVID vaccines being produced faster?
Usually, vaccine testing and production are separate steps. But because of the pandemic, vaccines are being developed on parallel tracks. So both steps are happening just at the same time.
How are the vaccines being tested?
Right now, several different COVID vaccines are in testing. Each go through multiple clinical trials with up to thousands of volunteers.
How do vaccines get approved?
Not all COVID vaccine versions will make it to the final stages of testing and approval. Produced vaccines that do not pass clinical trials will be destroyed. But for those that do pass, a team of medical experts will examine test results and possible side effects. If the vaccine is effective and safe, it gets approved and gets to you. Go to covidvaccinewa.org to learn more. A message from the state of Washington.
This is Paul Pearson, host of Star Time. And when I'm not meeting Mrs. Jones in that cafe for a chat and nothing else, I'm listening to Rainier Avenue Radio .world.
Hey y'all, this is Dr. Traci Harrell and I am in studio today. Yay! Yes, I am right here in studio at Rainier Avenue Radio, and I came here because I wanted to show off the Call to Conscience Museum. And I have a friend who's here with me. I'd like to introduce Miss Candace Dickson, one of my besties.
Hello, how you doing, Traci?
You know I love you, girl. How are you?
Oh, you too.
Okay, so we're gonna have you lean into the mic.
Okay, how about that?
Ooh,
Better?
I think we love it.
Okay.
So Candace, we had a little peek into the Call to Conscience Museum. Just the name, I love that. We're calling people in, calling them to conscious, calling them to show up. We had like a few minutes, and I was moved. I had to talk myself down off the ledge a little bit. We went up to the second floor to the Black Panther exhibit. I was like, okay, I can't come down talking like the Black Panthers. I might get cut off the radio. It was intense, right?
It was definitely intense. And while we don't necessarily want to use derogatory language towards ourselves or our oppressor, we do want that fire. We are in a battle, and we need to understand that it is a battle, right? So we've got to have fire and know that, hey, people gave their lives, our ancestors gave their lives for our freedom and our liberation, and there's still more work to do. Mm-hmm. So it's a very serious call.
Yes. Whew, y'all, the call to action, the call to conscience. I love that so much. There's so much to see, so much to do, not just during Black History Month, but just in general. Like we're here to make sure we remind people that here's some of the exhibits, right? We got Revere XR, we got Ezel 40 years with Louis Rudd. Lewis
I
showing
love you,
up. It was so nice. So actually, when I came here last Monday, there's a huge video screen with Lewis himself, hearing him talk about their journey. It's a beautiful thing. So much to see, so much to do. We invite people to come right out here to 4916 Rainier for true experience.
Oh, yeah.
An experience.
Definitely.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So I'm going to have you show us this way, the other way, whatever that looks like. So we're going to talk a little bit about an experience. I like using that word. So the show is called Better Together and Living Powerfully. It's the Better Together Empowerment Series because this show is all about empowerment. It's also the Living Powerfully experience, right? Because we want people to have a true experience so that they know what to do, which is what the empowerment series is about, right? We can do whatever we need to do together. But when you think about how to do it, that's what the Living Powerfully experience is. That's when we talk about truly showing up with things like positive intelligence and what I call transformational inclusive leadership. There's so much value in us showing up and doing this work together. And what I love, this is what we're going to talk about today. Can you see that?
Be a revolution.
Be a revolution, baby. That was the book review that we went to just recently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the book review was nothing short of amazing for me, right? I was very impressed not only with the author's, she's got 5-star book writing skills, right? She's a great author, but this lady is funny. She is humorous, right? She's telling stories and she's speaking her truth with a level of comedy so that we all feel comfortable with talking about these very serious subjects, right?
Yes.
We don't want to be in tears. We want to remain powerful, right? So there's definitely a way for us to make sure that we have a lightheartedness to a degree about some very serious concepts and things that we need to work on.
Hey, Daniel, look up every now and then. I'm giving you some hand signals. I didn't know how to type. I'm like, okay. So do me a favor. Tell me if you had to describe your key lessons learned from this, what would that be? You said just seeing them and the inspiration she said about writing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. First things first, I must become an author, right? I almost believe that just about everybody should write a book, right? Everybody should tell their story. And that when you do so, you give the permission to someone else to tell their story, right? As African Black people, our history was passed down through stories, and there was, neighborhood and village storytellers, and that's how we learned our history. But as that village style lifestyle kind of goes away, it's going to be imperative that we start to write books about our history, write books about our journeys in life, because guess what? 100 years from now, 50 years from now, that truly becomes history. We all have something to say. When you're African Black living in the United States, you have got a story, no doubt. And it's imperative that we keep our history going. So whatever your story is, get it written down.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I love it so much. Thank you for that, Candace.
Yeah.
So we, as you know, I've contributed to 3 books that became international bestsellers. One was called Ignite Happiness. The second one was called Ignite Your Inner Spirit. And the third was called Ignite Possibilities. People, that's because anything is possible. Yeah. So the next books that I write will be compilations, but I'm on the front cover of the third one because I helped 30 different authors to tell their story, to birth their story. The next series is going to be around this Better Together Empowerment series and the Living Powerfully experience. We have so much that we can impart onto the young people, onto people that look just like us, older people. There's so much that we can do. Now, what I wanted to share also, if Melany's here, we can bring her in. Miss Melany.
Hello. Can you hear me okay?
You sound amazing.
Okay,
perfect. The look that we had before, whenever you can, Daniel. This is my least favorite. I'm too wide to be in a little skinny shot. There you go. I need a little space. I need a little space to spread out, Melanie. So,
Right,
Melanie,
right.
you were the one who actually told me about the Be a Revolution book. You told me about it. You said, Traci, we're part of the stop showing the. I sent him some pictures. You like that? The room was full. It was 600 people in the room. So thank you, Melanie.
600 people, yeah.
Oh my God. So tell us about
Unbelievable.
what were your key learnings from this particular book? And if you had to invite people to Be a Revolution, what does that look like and sound like to you?
You know, I really loved her inclusivity, though she's very straightforward, a Black woman in America, and tells her experience. What she did for me was bridge the gaps in understanding for any so-called oppressed people, including, and really for me, especially white women. She has a large white female following, and it's so brilliant the way that she handles that following in letting them in on the story that, hey, you know what, you're getting treated just like me, you're just not admitting it, we're all in this thing together. It's really one of her strengths. So that's why I told you, excuse me, you've got to see her live. And just like your other guest was saying, oh my God, she's so funny. She's my Dave Chappelle, where she can bring up all of those
You did say that.
sensitive issues that nobody wants to touch or talk about, and bring everybody into the room with her.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was powerful. So one of the things that I loved, and she said some things that I was like you said, the room was full of a lot of white women, right?
Mhm.
The white men as well. Not as many of us. We were on the front row. Thank you to the institution for allowing us to show up. But she said things that I thought was like a window into our little Black female soul.
Yeah.
When she said that, you know, they talk about the Seattle freeze, but someone asked a question about community, and she was like, all you got to do is show up. My experience has not been shut out. My experience has been when you show up in community, in the Black community, you're looking for somebody to be a revolution, you're going to find somebody, and you could join the crew, whatever that looks like for you. It was very empowering. I was like, that has not been my experience either. I haven't felt shut out. There are some people who consider themselves gatekeepers for sure, but you just move around the gatekeepers and keep it moving. So do you guys agree that there's like enough community, enough opportunity that we get to show up and we all get to be a revolution?
Absolutely. I mean, the author stated that, hey, the Seattle freeze, that's a white person's thing. We don't go through that. We're not frozen out, right? I have my friends in Seattle are my family, right? That's how it is with us. We are family. And there is, without a shadow of a doubt, not anything that, you know, they won't do to extend themselves to me. And when I connected with the African Black community, I mean, it was just like I felt home. I had my family.
I love it. And I want to make sure nobody writes us and say, I've been froze out. What we're trying to clarify is, right? I have felt excluded by certain groups and certain people. You keep it moving and you go find your crew. That's what she said. Mm-hmm. Keep moving, keep looking. You will find the people that are for you. If they're not for you, if they're shutting you out, if they're exclusive, they're not for you. Those aren't your people anyway. Yeah. Right? That's what she meant by, you know, anyone. And that and the idea of going to find your people applies to Black people, it applies to white people. Everything I do is very inclusive. So when I talk about diversity and inclusion, we're saying find your people. Find who you feel comfortable with, like-minded individuals that want to drive similar change. And those are the people that you move with. That's your crew. You decide what success looks like. What were you going to say, Melanie, on this concept of finding your people?
You know, that is so important because I'm a reader. I read. I'm a speaker like yourself. And I love books. I love to do spoken word and things like that. So I went to the African American Writers Alliance. I naturally flow with those people. We get along like gangbusters. We love talking about what we're reading and writing next. And that was my crew. But that's not my only crew. That's not the only thing I do. And I found community in a lot of spaces here in Seattle. And one thing I specifically remember her saying is that go where the Black folks are, right? You can't be out in Mercer Island. It used to be when I was younger, Bellevue and Mercer Island, and that area was where you just couldn't make friends. But
I live in Bellevue, sorry. So
yeah. You know, they hang out with the Africatown Land Trust folks. Hang out with people at Black Dot. Hang out at Langston. You know, you're gonna find community there.
And honestly, I just want to add, you're going to find community wherever you are, right? Let's just be clear. Community is what you choose. Family, it's the people that you decide are aligned with your goals. If you want to be a revolution, right? Just show up and start being a revolution. You don't need permission. You don't even need a crew to be a revolution. Revolution of one, it's much more, it's better when you do it together, clearly. But the idea of saying, like, I live in Bellevue. So do I have people in Bellevue or do I have to go across the bridge? My church is in Renton and Kent, right? When I do I spit, I'm in Seattle right now. So I'm not saying for Black History Month or MLK, actually they had something in Crossroads. I live a few minutes from Crossroads. So that's in Bellevue. And there was the Deltas, East Side Deltas, the Seattle Deltas were all together wearing their red, filling up the space. I was like, oh, I love seeing my people, right? There was someone from the Rainier Avenue Community Center, the lady who does physical fitness was there on stage working it out. So we are everywhere, right?
Yes.
And online, find us, and we are your people.
Yeah. And it's so important to remember that statement. It's been said before. I'm certainly not the first one, but that healing is a revolutionary act. That self-confidence that you have, Dr. Traci and Candace, and even myself, to say, keep it moving. Find your community, find your chosen family. That comes from a great deal of healing, which is what your work is all about.
It is so true. There's this isn't my book, actually. This is the book for someone else. I had a bunch of highlights. I listened to her book the day, I think it was Friday that we went to her. Was it Friday? Past Friday or Thursday?
Yeah, last Friday.
That's right. That we went to her actual reading, and throughout the day, I actually pulled it up on Audible. She reads her own book, y'all. So it was so beautiful. It was so lovely. It's an easy read. And then when you bought the ticket for the reading, because her book had just come out, we all got the book. So it was exceptional. But I had already highlighted all through my book. So this isn't my highlighted book. So I'm gonna be a little clumsy here. But one of the things she said when she talked about DEI, she said, she said DEI efforts that don't focus on creating real changes to policies and procedures in order to make a measurable difference in the working lives of employees of color can be more harmful than doing nothing at all.
Yeah, I from what I feel with that is that DEI work is very heavy. It's very emotionally heavy. And so unpacking your experiences, some may be traumatic, but when you unpack that and you do the work, you come and you believe as a Black person that, oh yeah, there's going to be meaningful change, and you're pouring your information, giving it out. And when you see that all of that transparency really was all for nothing, that is very harmful to a person, right? It's vulnerability that essentially has been lost. And so there's more broken trust. So I get what she's saying. If it's not real, don't even bother. Don't bother, right? Because you just wind up wounding a person even more.
I love it. Now, that just came from her heart. In her book, she goes on to say it re-traumatizes your BADPOC employees. If you're not going to really do the work, it is a re-traumatizing experience. Yeah, it's like, why go through this battle? Through their day-to-day lives, you're already uncomfortable. Then you acknowledge that yes, this is the opportunity. This is a challenge that I've had. You acknowledge it, and then people get to minimize it using the language that was meant to support you in a way that sometimes harms you. And I think that's I was just thrilled by this language, Melany. You thrilled me as well because you're willing to show up telling your story. This concept of making sure that we help to hold people accountable, right? We're in a space where they have something called a Call to Conscience Museum.
Yes.
Call to Conscience, because oftentimes we walk through life sleep. Are you woke? Hello? Are you woke? Call to Conscience, right? You're calling them in. We're not calling people out. We're literally, I'm a little different because I don't need to call you out. If you know you're not doing the right thing, you're not doing the right thing. In 2024, life is too short. I decided I'm only going to work with leaders that are serious about actually driving change, that are actually ready to truly drive change. Those are the people that I'm going to call in. We have solutions. We've been talking about this, but let's call in the people that truly want to change the status quo. Let's do that.
Yeah.
I think one of the things, Melany, you did a performance recently, and I kind of did a live broadcast on my Facebook because I was there like, oh my God, it was so good. I wanted everyone to see it, everyone to hear it. If you had to summarize kind of the why, what was the title of it, your session again, your performance?
I call it Awoken. And I'm working with a choreographer right now to create a choreo poem we're going to call, working title, Awaken. So it is in that, what I meant by referring to your work, Dr. Traci, was living powerfully. What you just said about living as a leader, that comes again from a revolutionary act of healing, of loving yourself, particularly as, the Black women in this society. We've been left as second-class citizens in innumerable times. And so it takes a while. It takes real concentrated effort to actually love yourself and to live powerfully. And when you're living in that power, you have awakened to an entirely new world. It's like, well, for me, it's like the Many Mansions theory, where you can be Jesus walking on water right next to a guy named Judas that's going to betray you for 50 cents, So there is this divine dichotomy that we can live within, where there are people that might, snub you off and treat you like dirt, but you can still be living powerfully within that. One of the things about Awoken, summarizing, is that it is allowing words, our words, to be those originating structures of all things, from art to architecture. They are magical substance, in other words, that can transform pain into power. And that's what Awoken was really about, using what I'm thinking of as the George Floyd massacres over the 2020s to right now, and how I used my words. I used living powerfully and healing as a revolutionary act to awaken myself and others to what we could do, what we are capable of.
Did you hear what she said about what we could do, what we're capable of? And you said just watching this author talk about her book, it gave you a renewed clarity about what you're capable of. That's why I do the show. That's exactly why I do the show. Tell me a little bit about, if you had to talk to younger Candace, or talk to Candace for 2024, is anything not possible, or would you believe that everything is possible?
Oh, I believe that everything is possible, right? I believe that everything is possible, Traci, so much. So there's that old adage of, if you can believe it or see it, then you can achieve it. And you know how the saying goes. But there is so much truth in that, right? We underestimate our abilities. We downplay the power that we have within ourselves, because, and it's not that our self-esteem is so low. I mean, these are the messages that we're getting, right? We have these states of mind because it's the messaging and what we see and how we're treated in the broader communities, right? Out in society. But for me, when I take a step back and I really focus on myself through meditation, through yoga, through practices, what's the word that I'm looking for, Melany? The phrase is
spiritual practices, dealing with in the non-physical,
and the positive affirmations. When we take the time, when we, stop trying to boss up, we're all very busy, and we all have wonderful lives that we need to maintain. However, when we put that down and we just focus on ourselves, we are so much more powerful, right? We build up that strength. We attract those individuals and that energy that matches that strength that we've, kind of built up in ourselves. And man, the call to consciousness, we don't even have to talk about it, because we're doing, making, and creating all the time when we're together.
Look at this, y'all. It is so much better when we do it together. It really is. Y'all, one of the quotes that she said, and this is just some of the notes I was taking as I was listening to her book on Friday, but she said, the audacity of unapologetic imagination.
Mm-hmm.
Her book, her why. It was the she wanted to give people the audacity
Mm-hmm.
of unapologetic imagination, imagining a future that was going to produce the outcomes that we all say we want.
Mm-hmm.
That's about being a revolution.
Oh yeah. And being able to, in a sense, give your life for this work. Right? None of us want to die a revolutionary, right? None of us want to be in that. But I do think there are parts of you to be a true revolutionary. There are parts of you that you have to give up because it does not. The question is, well, it's a matter of personal preference, or this is what I think is true, or this is what I believe. It becomes a we thing. And if it is not, if your actions do not meet up with what's in the best interest of the community, us, we as a whole, then we got to make a different decision.
See, I love this girl right here, y'all. When I first met her, I met Candace at a Tabor 100 event, and talk about finding community. Just like AWA, African American Writers Alliance, just like the National Black MBA Association, just like Tabor 100, just like Black-owned Business Excellence. There's a lot of community. Black Dot, Africa Town. Like there are groups and communities that are showing up, that are being a revolution, that have decided they want to be the change that you want to see. And what you just said is, and when I first met you, you said some things that was talking about community and the imperative that we have to contribute to each other. I was like, oh my God, that's how we became friends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was like, I like you. You, my name of my company is It's All Bigger Than Me. And she's over there talking about it has to be bigger than me for me to be involved. I was like, well, all right then, sister. We were immediately family, right? It was a soul. Mm-hmm. You just said you got to be willing to give up something for yourself. There's so many people that are into themselves. Like when I was in the corporate space, like people who know me, they know Traci is legit, authentic, and I'm gonna show up for the people. Period. I will self-sacrifice for the people. And I remember reaching out to some of the leaders, like well-known leaders right here in Seattle at Microsoft. And I was like, hey, you guys know, I wrote about this in one of my books. Some young girl came to my office and she wanted to commit suicide because of the experience she was having at Microsoft. Now, Microsoft is a great company, just like all of them. They're good companies. They're saying the right things, but are people having experiences that are traumatic? Yes. I literally talked the girl off of a ledge. I was like, let's call your mom because you didn't fail here. We failed you, and the system has failed us all. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about that. She was the first in her family to go to college. She was the first in her family to be in a big company like Microsoft. She was the first, right? And she was literally Miss Traci.
So much riding, right?
So much riding on her success.
Yeah, much. Yeah. We have to redefine what success means.
Tell it,
especially in the African Black community, because we already know these systems are not set up for us to win, right? So we have to stop sending our children out in the world and saying, oh yeah, you need to work for these companies, when we know that these companies are not, that this is not.
May not work out. It may or may not work out. That's why I decided, you know what, I'm going back in, y'all. I'm all in, because for the companies who I believe they didn't know any better, I have to be, because there's some good people that I honestly believe. Now I'm bringing a solution. Like if you didn't know any better, here goes some solutions. Mm-hmm. If you're not down with it don't have to be mine, but you got to be doing more than just some basic stuff. Literally, the leader over diversity and inclusion at Microsoft, I swear to you, beautiful woman, I'm sure. But she said, Traci, we're going back to the basics. And I'm like, we got time to be going back to the basics? Are you kidding me? I had leaders saying, you know, we really, you're ahead of your times. We've been talking about this for 30 years. How am I ahead of my times? Years. I'm really not.
200.
Yeah. I really love what you said, Candace.
For decades. Sorry, go ahead. Yes.
No, I was really into what you were both saying about what am I going to have to give up, and one of those things was to think that you We're ahead of your time instead of, no, this is right now. It's 2024. We're dealing with the same things our great grandparents had to deal with someone kneeling on someone's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, as we saw Derek Chauvin do to George Floyd. When we're being faced with that kind of violence, we really have to listen to, what am I going to have to give up? And one of them is, the fear of being wrong, fear of seeing yourself as right as well. The fear of all of the non-physical things, and fear is one of them, that we haven't been able to face up to. The non-physical, to me, is the first thing that's making the physical occur. As I was saying, words are those building structures to all things. And when I think about all the non-physical, the unreal and the invisible that we're afraid of, like, was it Marianne Williamson, I think, that said, our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate, it's that we're powerful beyond measure. We're afraid of that non-physical inner spirit that strengthens us. It's in us all, it's through us all. And we have to be able to come to grips with that. The fear of the invisible, let's just call it that. But that's what I had to give up.
Okay, listen, this is so good, y'all. My producer's giving me the hand. He said we got to take a quick commercial break, y'all. We'll be right back on Rainier Avenue Radio. Stay with us, y'all. We are here to change the status quo. It's better together.
Rainier Avenue Radio. Your community radio station will provide you with more information. Rainier Avenue Radio.
Love food? Here's some storage tips to keep it fresh longer. Store cut fruits and vegetables in the fridge. Place in reusable containers. Keep bread in the freezer for longer storage. 40% of food in the U.S. goes uneaten. Save money, save food, save the planet. Visit Seattle Public Utilities for more tips.
Rainier Avenue Radio presents All Music, All Day Saturday. Music, all day Saturday. This is Edward Bailey, Bulldog Blue, Jazz from the Captains.
That's right. It's time once again for Jazz from the Captains.
Star Time.
Thanks for tuning in. My name is Paul. This is Star Time.
Saturdays, all music, all day. Reggae out. K-Fox Night.
Looking for the perfect beat? Yeah, it's the beat of the bar.
Fresh Juice. The Money.
Myself to the movie. Pint size.
Taylor Hart.
Spencia. The Northwest Rap Gang.
DJ Medina. Catch Northwest Rap Gang.
Sergio Lacour's Love Line.
It's Sergio's Love Lines with Sergio Lacour. Go to the phone line. Tell him who we talking.
Sea Monster Radio. Mojang. It's your day.
We're live. Welcome to Mojang Mondays. This is KZ of KB Music Media. Caller Goddess. Caller Goddess for Mojang Mondays.
Just like God is inspiration all day and all night. Saturday. Rainier Avenue Radio. Celebrate Black History Month at the Call to Conscience Black History Month Museum, formerly Columbia City Theater, 4916 Rainier Avenue South. Call to Conscience Black History Month Museum features exhibits and installations. It's a guided tour. Installations include the Seattle Black Panther Party, the Black Heritage Society of Washington, the Rainier Cinema Black Movie Posters Collection, the Hartsfield Family Enslaved Quilt Collection, Revere XR, Negro League Baseball's Seattle Steelheads, NAACP Washington, Alaska, and Oregon, Giselle's Famous Chicken, Nasty Mix Records, Sir Mix-a-Lot, South Seattle Emerald, the Museum of History and Industry, Community Keepsakes and Memorabilia, the Total Experience Gospel Choir and Pat Wright, the Black Prisoners Caucus, a display from the Tacoma Buffalo Soldiers Museum. Tuesdays through Sundays from 11 a.m. 7 p.m. There will be no other location where you can celebrate the achievements and the achievers of the Pacific Northwest and Seattle while recognizing the Black excellence that shines today. For more information, visit RainierAvenueRadio.org or call 206-290-9685.
Rainier Avenue Radio. Rainier Avenue Radio.
Hey, y'all. This is Dr. Traci Harrell, and I'm right here in Rainier Avenue Radio's official studio with one of my besties. Say hello to Candace Dickson. Oh, hey, Melany's back. Hey, Melany. Y'all, we are here. And the topic we were discussing today was Call to Conscious, because we're here in the middle of a space where they've created a Call to Conscious museum, which is super exciting. And then we were talking about this idea right here. Let me just go ahead and plug it out. And even if you missed the live, go back to 4916 Rainier Avenue Radio. It's okay. You can plug. It's okay. So it's called the Black History Month Call to Conscious Museum. Tons of featured exhibits. We actually took a peek upstairs at the Black Panther Party exhibit. Lewis Rudd, 40 years in business. There's tons of Black movie posters, lots of history. Revere XR, that's actual. I love that. So you got the history and then you got the new age. So what they did with Revere XR is they've created an opportunity for you to look into kind of how the CD was back in the day. It's a beautiful thing, but lots and lots of content. I couldn't be more proud to be a part of an institution like Rainier Avenue Radio, who's all about community, by community, for community. We're showing up for you guys. I love it. I love it. I love it. And then there will be videos, the documentaries and stuff, but they need you to come. They need you to come in here. They need you to flow into this space, y'all. 4916 Rainier Avenue. Okay. So we were talking about Call to Conscious just because we love the language. We love calling people in. We're not calling you out, by the way. You have nothing to fear with me. I'm not one of the Black girls that's burning stuff down. I ain't burning nothing down. Right? just to be clear. I'm not lighting nothing off. I'm calling you in. If you're someone who actually wants to drive change, we're saying it's better together. Join us. We're also saying we have a living, powerfully experience that will help you to accomplish the goals that you say you want to accomplish. That's what this is all about. So show me the other view. You know, I like that better. Big girls don't like to be squeezing into a view. I'm just saying. So we actually all went, thanks to Miss Melany Bell, who's the current chairperson of African American Writers Alliance. We went to see this author with her book debut called Be a Revolution: How Everyday People Are Fighting Oppression and Changing the World, and How You Can Too. So today we're talking about how you can too. And the last thing I think I heard you say was you talked about Melany Bell. You were just saying we all, we have to give up some things. I think you said that, Candace, and you talked about fear as one of the things that we have to give up.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about what you've had to give up, Melany, and then I'll go to you, Candace, and I'll talk about what I've had to give up in order to be about the people, about what it means to be a revolution.
Well, I had to look back to look forward. It is that Sankofa moment that you realize that what Dr. Joy DeGruy was saying at her conference in Langston this weekend was that she had to realize that our ancestors were going through even worse than what we're going through right now. We weren't living through our children being snatched out of their beds and, given to the master and working from sun up to can't see at night. We're not living through those things. We have we've crossed an enormous distance. And so our fear is unfounded and we must stand up. My mentors like Dr. Maxine Mims, and Dr. Joy Hardiman, and Dr. McDade, all of these women that were getting their PhDs to speak their voices in a time when women like Alice Walker were being banned from libraries and schools here in Seattle, Washington. Dr. McDade was putting her literal life on the line, as was Dr. Mims and Dr. Joy Hardiman. They were literally putting their lives on the line so that we could be published, so that we could use our voices. And it's nowhere near as frightening for me today. So I have to stand up. It's just way easier. And this is how we realize that those dreams deferred become these empowered young people. I'm not so young anymore, but I was at the time. I became empowered by the fact that I had it easy compared to my ancestors and elders. So it really behooves us to look back, look at your history, look at what we've been through, and see that even Dr. King's dream has been realized in so many ways.
Candace is smiling and nodding. What are you thinking right now?
Well, when we talk about fear, I definitely had to give fear up. I had to get over, and then I had to give up myself, right? Not completely, but the individual nature of self, right? That, I pulled myself up by the bootstraps. Look at me. Look
So
at
you
what
so you
I'm
go do the same?
doing. Yeah, I had to give that up because number one person just really travels a very short distance, right? One person does, but a group of people can travel really far. And I asked myself, I said, well, where do you want to go? I was like, I want to go far. I want to do as much as I can to help as many people as I can. So with that attitude and with that vigor, I knew that I had to link up with other like-minded people, right? So the individual sense of self, I had to give that away. And find my family. Find the family. And no matter what, just stay in there. Through the arguments, through the, hey, I don't think this is right, through all of that struggle, we're still together. We still have a mission, and our mission is liberation.
Did you hear that, y'all? The mission is liberation. And liberation, just like, I often, whenever I'm on conversations with people, I ask them, what does living powerfully, what does that actually mean to them? So I'm going to ask you two, I don't think we've had this conversation, at least not on this particular show. When you hear the term living powerfully, Candace, what does that mean to you? What do those words actually mean to you?
It goes to that. It's better together. Living powerfully means that we're living together. Living powerfully means that we're taking action together. That's the power. That is the power. That is the true impact. So, you look at your schedule or you look at how you spend your time. And if you can't look at how you spend your time, which is one of the most valuable resources that we have, can't look at that schedule and see, oh, okay, I've done this for my community, or I've done, these things to contribute. We got to reorganize. We have to reorganize.
I love it. I love it so much. Melany, same question for you. When you hear the term living powerfully, what is living powerfully? What does that mean to you in your life?
Yeah, that is so important. What Candace just said about better together, right? What you were saying about better together. And I think of ants building a little trail across a load of water, a little puddle, and how they have to each cling to one another to get that steady enough so that the next one can crawl over and the next one can crawl over. But selfishness is something that we really have to give up in order to become the powerful beings and living powerfully that we're capable of being. To be greedy, to be selfish, to not recognize that the only way to have more is to add others onto your team, into your boat, assisting and supporting one another, lifting as we climb. It is definitely giving up selfishness for myself and seeing the grace, the graciousness that takes, giving that old ego up, if you will. That's living powerfully to me.
I love that so much. And again, I'm going back to some language that I got out of this book, Be a Revolution. When she said the audacity of unapologetic imagination, that to me is my vision, my hope, my desire for every person that listens to my voice. Doing this show, showing up each week, knowing that we have gifts, we have skills, we have tools that we can share, that I'm just gifting to community. If we can all have just the audacity to believe that anything is possible and to be unapologetic about your desire to want to contribute, like you said, to community, to want to be about the people. That's living powerfully to me. I mean, I feel like 2024, I'm living powerfully right now, just because I showed up today with each of you, leaving this legacy, calling people in, having a conversation, inviting them to be a revolution. That in itself, none of us are promised tomorrow. What are you doing today? So this idea of better together, the Better Together Empowerment Series and the Living Powerfully experience, we do take people on a very intentional journey, right? We do. We create a space for you to minimize your saboteurs and increase your superpowers and to show up with the level of excellence that will allow you to truly have that audacity, unapologetically, to have an imagination that all the things that we desire, that they can come true. Like we can do it.
No doubt.
Talk to your younger self as it relates to this concept of self-love. I heard Melany mention it. You and I were talking about that earlier as well. I didn't realize that was a thing that I needed to work on. It changes everything.
Yeah. Traci, I think it's a lifetime full of healing. I think that, caring for yourself and healing those wounds, those hurts, that all of the information that we take in as Black women and just all of that. But I really believe that it is a lifetime, right? Because what we don't realize is that, I'm 51 years old. So I have my 51-year-old years of baggage I'm carrying around with me. But guess what? I have the DNA of my grandmother. I have the DNA of my great-grandmother. So we are carrying around ancestral, baggage, DNA, memory, right? And we all know, we've read the stories, we've seen, we know our history, and we know that our history in this country was nothing less than brutal. And so when we think in terms of, self-care and being able to become whole, that's just a lifetime for us. That is a lifetime journey because we have so much that we carry around and we have to contend with, and our history is just rich with a lot of things that were done to us. So I think it's an all day, every day for us. And as we get old, as we mature, and we know more about ourselves, we know more about our history, we got to turn it up even more so, not only for ourselves, but for the younger, generations, right? We really want them to understand what self-care looks like, what it means to be bold, stand in your grace, have your crown on. We've got to demonstrate that. So this is all day, every day, lifetime.
I totally agree. Melany, what are your thoughts when you hear this concept of self-care, the importance of us leaning in? I know you saw Joy DeGruy in her book, Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, which talks about the fact that modern day African Americans are experiencing the negative impacts of the past, combined with any discrimination or oppression that they endured today. Like all of that's connected to really create a space where we have a lack of self-esteem. She talks about persistent feelings of anger, internalized racist beliefs, right? A book that was written back in 2005, re-released in 2017, still relevant, still hugely relevant today. Because again, I focus on the positive side. Even though we know all of this is true, what would you tell someone who might be experiencing some of those negative energies? What would you tell them about why it's so important that we show up in our most positive light, leaning into self-care, self-love, and healing?
That is such an important question. And so have all of these been, by the way. When I personally think about self-care, one of the things that my sister and my parents always told me, and I wrote a book called Everything I See Is Me, is that the circumstances that you find yourself in you put yourself there. And so that's a part of self-care, is to acknowledge that I am capable of getting myself when I'm down, and I'm capable of getting myself where I'm at when I'm up. So it is a personal responsibility that is self-care. And there's also the maturing, talking to my younger self, going from what some people call like the lower chakra, from sexual to intellectual, that we're dealing with, and how I chose self-care to continue to feed my intellectual self, to continue to feed what wasn't being valued from women, from hidden figures, right, to Henrietta Lacks, but our not just our tissue that births every genius in the world, but the memory, the intellect, to remember that my body is a sacred and useful temple and tool to build literally every genius that ever was. Every invention and innovation that ever occurred can come from a wombed man, in my understanding. And so by reflecting on myself, by caring for myself, by accepting my good and my bad, my both andness, right? My anger is sacred. And so is my joy. But my anger can lead myself and others into a higher and higher space if I use it with my intellect, if I'm using it along with my truth to build rather than degrade one another. So that's what self-care is to me. It's an admission that I'm all of it. Right? I'm what Jesus said, I and the Father are one. You and I are one. We are a part of the infinite intelligence of the universe. How dare you not love yourself? Right? So that's where I come from. That's my upbringing, is that everything I see is me.
So when you say everything, isn't she amazing? When you say everything you see is me, you have this visual that's kind of like the me, we flip inverse. Tell me about that, because that I thought was, again, same reason I fell in love with this one over here. I'm like, look at my sister talking about the importance of the we, and then you were like, oh, Stacey, let me show you my me visual. Talk about that.
Yes, I was blessed. I was absolutely blessed. I was praying just day and night during the George Floyd massacres, right when COVID hit, and then, or Corona, and then it was COVID, and then it was the Delta. So I'm praying day and night, give me a vision, give me a sign. And we literally was the words I was given. So I wrote a really big on this piece of wood board that I had, me. And then universe said, and now reflect, what is me? If you flip it upside down, and said, we. And it blew my mind. I had never thought that before. And I'm like you, I'm 51 years old. I'm like, wow, I never realized that when you flip me, it's we, and vice versa. But it really was a gift from the universe. And I started riffing on that. And from that came an entire collection of art. I wasn't able to draw a stick figure, I'm telling you. And this is the literal inspira, the breath of God, the breath of life that is in us all, that began to come out of me, just pour out of me in so many ways. But that visual of the reflection of the self in an other, whenever you're looking at someone else, not only are we connected by food, air, and water, we're absolutely all made up out of that stuff. Right? But our DNA back to Mother Earth, back to the air and atmosphere itself, is literally the same stuff. We are connected, and I have to be able to see the you in me in order to truly love myself and recognize what all those ancient black books, from the Torah to the Bible to the Quran and so on, what those were really, really talking about. The mathematic nature of what we are, the scientific nature of what we are.
I love it. Candace, when you hear the reflection of me in you, what do you think about that? What do you think about the me and we? I mean, I know this is kind of your thing.
Well, the reflection of me and we, it really, it creates a sort of synergy that is connected, right? And so I'm a big energy person. And I believe in energy. I think, our bodies, all that we're made of is made of energy. And energy is collective, right? It's a collection of all of these things. And that's how I feel about the me, we, right? There's no me without the we.
There's no we without the me. Exactly.
There's just not a lot that happens there, right? So when I think of me, we, I think of expansion. And when I think of expansion, I just see all of the ideas that we have, all of the desire that we have to live our lives as full as we possibly can without oppression. I feel that. And so that's what I see. I just see us together, and I see our will to do it. You know, I don't know if it will ever come in my lifetime, but I believe that it's possible.
I definitely believe it's not only possible, but I think we are creating it right now. So I'm saying not only will it come in your lifetime, it is we get to decide what success looks like. You said that earlier today.
It's true.
We get to decide what success looks like. This is success.
That's true.
This is us showing up. MLK's, we celebrated the 60th anniversary of MLK's March on Washington, right? And we did that specifically highlighting the I Have a Dream speech. Well, we all have a dream, right? If you had to think about 2024 and you said your dream for 2024, Melany, one of your dreams you're bringing to reality right now, you're going to be talking about and bringing to reality something called the Genius Conference.
Yes.
Tell us about that. Tell us about how, again, this lady said, be a revolution, right? She said how everyday people are fighting oppression, how everyday people are changing the world, and how you can too. We're all doing the thing. We are being the revolution just by showing up today. Melany, just one little quick blurb. I know we only have a few minutes. Tell me real quickly about this.
The Genius Conference is an homage to my elders that created the African American Writers Alliance 30 years ago, again, when they were banning Alice Walker from libraries. So to call them geniuses, first of all, I have to reflect that onto myself and take that hit, right? Let go of my ego that I ever thought I wasn't, but also to give that to community as well. It's going to be at the Langston Hughes Performing Arts Center, June 7th and 8th from 11 a.m. with a little breakfast mixer to 6 and 8 p.m. respectively, 7th and 8th of June. We will be having all kinds of creative arts workshops, reminding us that the code of the universe is language, that hip hop is a part of that, and that spoken word and the written word are our oldest, most classic art forms, just celebrating language in all of its glory. So that's the Genius Conference. And again, it's being created by the African American Writers Alliance for all of the community.
I love that so much. We actually won a little, the grant that we won through the National Black MBA Association was one that I wrote because I had been leading this Better Together Empowerment series and the Living Powerfully experience. And the National Black MBA was founded 54 years ago. Hello, based on the concept of economic and intellectual empowerment. Wow. They said it was better together. They knew that it was better together. People were showing up, having experiences that were less than optimal and not understanding how, why. And they were also in these corporate spaces learning all this amazing stuff. And they wanted to make sure that that was going back in community. So when I think about who I am and how I show up today, it's like, it's better together. Whatever we're doing, it's better together. And I'm so proud to still be a part of the National Black MBA Association. We have a new president. His name is Dr. James Carter. And, I'm just proud to continue to be a part of those entities, those organizations that say, it is better when we do it together, and that believe that we can be the change that we want to see. I see you smiling, Candace. What are you thinking?
No, I'm just happy. I'm really happy. I'm happy to be here. I'm excited. I'm excited. I think 2024 is going to be another phenomenal year. We will do more amazing things. We will raise and birth more amazing children. Our nation is extremely strong throughout the history of mistreatment. We still have one of the strongest nations that there is. And so I'm always excited about my people and our success and what we're going to do next.
I love it. Candace, since we're on the radio and this will be shown multiple times and it's being broadcast across the world, would you share a little bit about who you are, what your business is? We're in the middle of tax season and you're an accountant and more. So tell us about B2B. Yes, I know. Black accountant. Exactly.
Well, Traci, you kind of just summed it up. My name is Candace. I own and operate Genuity Tax and Accounting. And we actually are an international firm. We service clients throughout the world and abroad. We handle most of our customers virtually. We offer virtual solutions, but we specialize in accounting, bookkeeping, and tax preparation. And you were talking about, what we'll be doing in the upcoming year. And so, Traci, you and I talked about this, I think yesterday, but I certainly will be starting one of my first publications.
Finishing
My first publication entitled 5 Keys. These 5 keys will be any entrepreneur and business person's fundamental keys to success, right?
I
And
love
so
it.
we're going to break down some of those key concepts surrounding business that people have questions about.
Yes.
And I want to hand out knowledge and make sure that we all are
Yes.
financially sound and fit
Y'all.
and paying minimal taxes.
I love it, love it, love it. We are out of time. Melanie, you got 2 seconds if you want to share something about how anyone want to reach you. How do they reach you?
Please go to aawa-seattle.org and or melannybell.org and ELANY.org if you wanted more information on how to get involved in getting this literacy legacy in Seattle, its first inaugural Genius Conference.
Ooh, I love it so much, y'all. There's so much more to come with these beautiful ladies. Stay with us right here on Rainier Avenue Radio. Next up is Lid Line Sports. Did y'all watch the Super Bowl? Oh my goodness, it was so good. I'm gonna have to stay and watch it just to hear what he has to say about that. Y'all, this is Traci Harrell. More to come. Stay right here on Rainier Avenue Radio.